Chapter 1. The Great Lie About Aging and the Stanford Discovery. Old age is a bad habit for which a busy man has no time. André Maurois. What if I told you that you do not have to die the way you have been told? That wrinkles, weakness, and fading away are not laws of physics. They are a habit. A bad habit that we were taught from birth. In 1979, a group of 70-year-old men were placed in a house where everything, the music, the newspapers, the furniture, took them back 20 years. They were forbidden to talk about old age. They were told to live as if they were young again. 1 week later, their vision improved. Their joints became flexible. They literally grew younger. Why? Because they believed that time had turned back. But our mind is a stubborn thing. If we believe in old age, the body obediently follows the command. In 2024, scientists at Stanford saw exactly how this program works on a chemical level. They proved we do not fade gradually. Our body breaks down in sharp crashes at 44 and 60 years old. 2 massive glitches, like someone pressed a button on a control panel, and thousands of molecules in your blood instantly changed formation. But who is pressing the button? Biology? Or your expectation of the inevitable? Do you think death is an unbreakable law of physics? It is more like a suggestion that some have learned to ignore. Look at the ocean. There swims the Turritopsis jellyfish, which has literally hacked the system. When it gets old or injured, it does not die. It hits Control Z. It melts its adult body back into a baby polyp, restarting the cycle. Forever. Now look at humans. Tibetan monks in a state of tukdam. Doctors pronounce them dead. The heart stops, the brain is silent. But the body refuses to comply. It stays warm. It does not decompose for weeks. It is as if the monk's consciousness is so powerful, it simply forbade the cells from falling apart. Science scaredly calls this an anomaly or biocentrism. But perhaps it is just proof that there is a way out of the maze. Your body is just a screen onto which the film of your mind is projected. If it is a horror movie, the body gets sick. But what if we change the real? Today, we are going to talk about how to rewrite the aging program. Chapter 2. The Crash at 44 and 60. Why the Body Breaks. Let's look under the hood of your biological machine. For a long time, we thought aging was like tire wear. You drive, you wear down. Slow, boring, linear. But in late 2024, geneticists at Stanford looked at the data of thousands of people and saw something that made them double-check the numbers. We do not age every day. We age in bursts, catastrophic spikes that look like cliffs. The first blow hits the system at 44, the second at 60. Remember yourself or your friends. 44 years old. That age when a man suddenly buys a motorcycle, or a woman radically changes her life. Psychologists call it a midlife crisis. They say, it is all in your head. But Stanford showed it is hard physiology. At 44, your body suddenly forgets how to metabolize 2 things, alcohol and fat. Suddenly, that glass of wine that used to bring joy now brings only swelling and fatigue. The steak that used to give energy now turns into cholesterol. Lipid molecules go crazy. The skin does not lose elasticity gradually. It collapses in just a few years. But here is the million-dollar question. Why? Why exactly 44? Why not 43 or 45? Biology does not have a calendar, but your mind does. Mystics and awakened masters claim the body is simply following orders. Listen to what Sadhguru says. This is perhaps the most accurate definition of old age you will ever hear. Old age is not a fading. Old age is too many conclusions. You have made conclusions about everything. What life is, who you are, what is possible and what is not. And when your mind solidifies, your energy stagnates. The rigidity of the mind becomes the rigidity of the body. Think about it. By 40, most of us stop being surprised. We have figured it all out. We live on autopilot. Work, home, vacation once a year. George Gurdjieff called this the crystallization of mechanicalness. When the mind stops being flexible, DNA gets the signal. Development is over. Time to shut down the system. Your molecular cliff at 44 is just an echo of your mental cliff that happened a little earlier when you decided your best years were behind you. And if we do not change the program, the second stage arrives. 60 years old. Here, the immune system and kidneys crash. But something scarier happens. Zombies wake up inside your body. Scientists call them senescent cells. These are cells that have aged, stopped dividing, but refused to die. They do not work. They just sit inside your tissues, secreting toxic poison, infecting the young, healthy cells around them. Zombie cells are the biological embodiment of our old grudges, traumas, and unspoken words. Sandra Ray, a legend of rebirthing, called aging a bad habit and an accumulation of energy trash. A zombie cell is a cell clinging to the past. It is functionally dead, but physically alive. It poisons the organism because it does not know how to let go. Leonard Orr went even further. He spoke of the death urge. This is an unconscious program we absorb from our parents. We watch them age, and our brain records it as an instruction manual. At 60, my knees should hurt. At 70, I should be weak. Orr wrote, "Man does not die because it is a biological necessity. He dies because he unconsciously agrees that death is inevitable. It is mass hypnosis." Science calls this epigenetic noise. Imagine your DNA is a piano. The keys, genes, are always the same, at 5 years old and at 80. But with age, the pianist, your body, starts hitting the wrong notes. He forgets the melody. He bangs on the keys chaotically. Why? Because the sheet music is covered in dirt. David Sinclair proved aging is a loss of information. The cell forgets who it is. A skin cell forgets it is skin and starts acting like an old tire. But if aging is a loss of information, that means the information can be restored. If the pianist just forgot the melody, can we give him the sheet music again? Oh, we tried. humanity has tried to remind the body of youth in the most insane ways. We drank metal. We transplanted monkey organs. We bathed in radiation. The history of fighting death is written in the blood of madmen and the checks of billionaires. And believe me, compared to what our ancestors did, modern biohackers are children playing in a sandbox. Are you ready to look into the cabinet of curiosities of immortality? Do not look away. This is a story about how much we want to live and how foolishly we die. Chapter 3: The Graveyard of Biohackers. Mercury, Radiation, and Monkey Organs. We think we are smarter. We look at modern biohackers with their MRIs and stem cells and nod, yes, this is science. But let's be honest. The desire to hack death is humanity's oldest disease, and every time we tried to cheat nature with brute force, nature struck back with lethal precision. The history of life extension is not a history of victories. It is a story of how fear turns smart people into suicides. Look at China, 3rd century BC. Qin Shi Huang, the man who united an empire, built the Great Wall, and owned the world. But he trembled with terror at one thing: his own mortality. His court magicians, the Feng Shi, convinced him that the secret to eternity was hidden in Mercury, liquid silver. It moves. It does not rot. It seems alive. The logic was ironclad. If I consume something that does not die, I will not die. The emperor began taking pills made of cinnabar every day. Instead of immortality, he got madness. The mercury destroyed his brain and kidneys. He became a paranoid recluse, hiding from his own shadows. He died at 49. The irony reached its peak in his tomb. Archaeologists say he lies there, surrounded by rivers of the very liquid mercury that poisoned him. But maybe that was a long time ago. Maybe we got smarter. Let's fast forward to the 20th century, the era of science. No magic, just mechanics. In the 1920s, the world was gripped by an idea. Man is a machine. If the motor is sputtering, add a new part. A Russian-French surgeon, Sergei Voronov, offered aging millionaires a radical tune-up. He did not replace organs. He did something more sophisticated. Voronov took the testicles of young chimpanzees or baboons, sliced them into thin wafers, and sewed them directly inside the patient's scrotum. The surgeon's logic was simple and terrible in its directness. He believed these young grafts would fuse with human flesh, take root, and pump fresh, wild testosterone into the old man's blood. It sounds like a horror script, but it was the era's biggest medical sensation. Thousands of men, politicians, industrialists, bohemians, lined up to have a piece of an animal implanted in them. And you know what? They got better. For a few months. They felt a surge of energy. Their mental clarity returned. Their sexual drive came back. Why? The placebo effect. The power of belief was so strong that the body ignored reality for a while. But you can't cheat biology. The foreign tissue was inevitably rejected by the immune system, turning into useless scar tissue and fibrosis. It was not youth. It was self-deception, bought at the cost of primate health and mutilated bodies. But the scariest lesson was yet to come. When Marie Curie discovered radium, the world decided it had found God. Radium glowed. It was pure energy. People thought, if I drink light, I will shine from within. Cosmetics with radiation appeared. Chocolate with radium. Water with radium. Meet Eben Byers, steel tycoon, golf champion, playboy. He started drinking a popular medicine called Radithor, water charged with radium. He liked the feeling. He said he felt electrified. He drank 1,400 bottles. And then his body began to disintegrate while he was still alive. Radium, pretending to be calcium, built itself into his bones and started shooting them with radiation from the inside. In 1930, his teeth fell out. And then, his jaw fell off. A lawyer who visited him shortly before his death left a report that makes your blood run cold. The whole upper jaw, excepting 2 front teeth, and most of his lower jaw had been removed. All the remaining bone tissue of his body was disintegrating, and holes were actually forming in his skull. Byers died in 1932. He was buried in a lead coffin. He is still radioactive. Why am I telling you this? To scare you? No. So you can see the pattern. Mercury, monkey organs, radiation. Every time the script is the same. 1. Fear of death pushes us to find a magic bullet. 2. We find something powerful that we do not fully understand. 3. We believe it is a panacea. 4. It kills us. Today, we are doing the same thing. Brian Johnson injects his son's blood. Biohacker Aaron Trawick injects himself with untested genes and dies in a sensory deprivation tank. We change the tools, but we do not change the approach. We try to hack the body with brute force, ignoring the chief architect of this system, our consciousness. And while we chase pills, nature quietly laughs at us. Because there are creatures on Earth that have already solved this problem. Without scalpels, without radiation, and without Mercury. They simply canceled the death program. Chapter 4. The Undo Button. Creatures who live forever, and the dirty disk theory. While we were looking for elixirs in test tubes, we were looking in the wrong place. The answer was crawling under our feet the whole time, and swimming in the ocean. Nature does not just allow immortality. It created creatures that are laughing at our laws of physics right now. Meet the naked mole rat. Yes, it looks like a sausage with teeth that someone forgot to boil. But do not pity it. Pity yourself. A regular mouse lives 2 to 3 years. This guy lives over 30 years. In human terms, that is like living to be 600. And the most insulting part? It does not age. It remains young, active, and fertile until the very end. And it almost never gets cancer. How? In 2025, scientists found the answer. It has a mutation in the CGAS gene. In us, this gene causes inflammation when DNA is damaged. In the mole rat, it does the opposite. It triggers urgent repairs. Its cells are wrapped in a viscous coat of hyaluronic acid, through which cancer simply cannot break. It does not fight aging. It turned it off. But there is someone even cooler. The Turritopsis dornii jellyfish. When it gets sick, old, or injured, it does not die. It turns into a blob, reabsorbs its tentacles, and is born again. It literally returns to childhood, to the polyp stage, to live life over again. This is called transdifferentiation, a scientific term for a miracle. So why can they do it and we cannot? After all, our cells are made of the same dough. We have the same DNA, the same proteins. The answer modern science has reached is shocking in its simplicity. We do not age because of hardware failure. We age because of a software glitch. David Sinclair, a geneticist at Harvard, calls this the information theory of aging. Imagine your DNA is a CD, or a vinyl record. Recorded on it is a perfect symphony, the music of your youth. Genes that make skin elastic and the heart strong. With age, the disc itself does not break. The genes do not go anywhere, but the disc gets scratched. Stress, toxins, bad food, sunburns, all of these leave scratches. This is called epigenetic noise. The player's reading head starts to skip. The cell tries to play the symphony of youth, but static comes out instead. The cell forgets who it is. A skin cell forgets it is skin and starts acting like an old tire. That is the bad news. Your disc is scratched. But here is the good news. If the music is still there, that means the disc can be polished. We have already learned how to do this. In labs, we take old blind mice. We inject them with a special cocktail, Yamanaka factors. This is polish for genes. And the incredible happens. The cells shed their age. They remember who they were in their youth. Vision returns to the blind mice. Their nerves regenerate as if they were embryos again. We are on the verge of a revolution. We realized that old age is not a one-way street. It is a file that can be overwritten. But here is the catch. In the lab, we use viruses and genetic engineering to rewrite the code. It is complex, expensive, and dangerous. But what if you already have a built-in tool to rewrite this code? What if the lead programmer who scratches or polishes your disk every day is not a virus or a pill, but you? Your mind, your consciousness. Science is only now beginning to understand that the placebo effect is not an error in an experiment. It is the control panel. Chapter 5. Quantum Hack. How Thought Changes DNA. Have you ever noticed how a person's face changes when they meet an old friend from school? For a moment, wrinkles smooth out, eyes light up, posture straightens. We say, he became younger before our eyes. In 1979, Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer proved it is not a metaphor, it is a biological fact. She conducted an experiment I call the time machine. Langer took a group of men over 70. They had arthritis, poor eyesight, canes. She took them to a country house that was completely retrofitted to look like 1959. Perry Como music was playing. The TV showed news from 20 years ago. No mirrors, no talk of illness. They were given one condition: not to reminisce about the past, but to live in it, to act as if they were 50 again. A week later, the results shocked the doctors. Their hearing improved, joint flexibility improved, their vision physically improved, Many stopped wearing glasses. Their fingers grew longer. Yes, arthritis receded. And cognitive tests showed a rise in intelligence. They physiologically grew younger, simply by changing the context in their heads. Langer proved, aging is not just cell wear. It is learned helplessness. But if it is that simple, why do we not all live forever? Because a hidden program is running inside us. Leonard Orr, the founder of Rebirthing, gave it a frightening name: the death urge. Orr claimed, "We are not born with the idea of death. We are infected by it. It is a virus of consciousness that we catch from parents and society. We see grandma taking pills. We hear, 'Well, at your age, that is normal.' And we sign an unconscious contract. I must die to be a normal human." This is, as Sandra Ray said, simply a bad habit of dying. We accumulate guilt, resentment, and energy trash, which Orr called emotional pollution. And the body obediently turns these emotions into diseases. But how exactly does a thought become a wrinkle? How does the immaterial idea, "I am old," turn into stiff arteries? Here we have to go down the rabbit hole, into the quantum world. Modern physics is starting to speak the language of mystics. Dr. Robert Lanza proposed the theory of biocentrism. He argues, the universe does not create life. On the contrary, life creates the universe. Time and space are just tools of our mind. If the observer is primary, then when you believe in the inevitability of decay, you literally collapse the reality of your body into a state of old age. This is not just philosophy. This is quantum biology. The University of Surrey proved mutations in our DNA that cause aging can occur due to quantum tunneling. Protons in your DNA are quantum particles. They can teleport through barriers. If a proton ends up in the wrong place, the DNA code is read with an error. And there is a hypothesis that it is our consciousness, or lack thereof, that influences where this proton ends up. A scattered mind creates chaos, entropy in the body. A focused, meditative mind creates order. Do not believe it? Then explain this to me. The Thukdam phenomenon. When an ordinary person dies, decomposition begins instantly. But when an experienced Tibetan monk dies, something impossible happens. Doctors record death. The heart stops, no breathing. Brain activity on EEG is 0. Medically, it is a corpse. But a day passes, 3 days, a week, 3 weeks. The body does not smell. The skin remains elastic. The area around the heart stays warm. A dead man is sitting and meditating. Studies conducted by neuroscientist Richard Davidson and Russian scientists confirmed decay slows down. Tibetans say that subtle consciousness is still in the body, holding it back from entropy. This is Schrödinger's death. The monk is both alive and dead at the same time. His consciousness is so powerful that it is able to halt the laws of chemistry. And now remember the words of Sadhguru we started with. Old age is too many conclusions. The monks in Thukdam, the jellyfish in the ocean, the old men in the 1979 experiment, they all did the same thing. They refused the conclusion that the end is inevitable. We, modern humans, are dying because we are too smart. We know that at 60 there will be diabetes. We know that at 80 we will die. Our mind has become a prison for our body. Rigidity of thought has turned into atherosclerosis of the vessels. But if the lock is in the mind, then the key is there too. We have reached the main question. What can you do right now, tonight, to put this key in the keyhole and turn it? I will not suggest you become a monk in a cave. We have something more practical. The Chronos Protocol. Chapter 6. The Dog's Alibi. Why animals age without believing in it. I hear your silent question. It hangs in the air. You look at your dog and think, wait, you say aging is a mind program, but my dog does not know what 60 years old is. He does not read mortality statistics. He lives in the moment. Why does he get frail and die? Did he believe in old age too? The answer to this paradox is given by British biologist Rupert Sheldrake, and his theory overturns everything we knew about biology. Sheldrake claims, what we call unbreakable laws of nature are actually just established habits. Imagine that every species is surrounded by an invisible cloud, a morphogenetic field. This field works like a giant collective memory. When a puppy embryo forms, it does not just build a body based on genes. Like a radio receiver, it tunes into the frequency of all the billions of dogs that lived before it. And this field dictates not only the shape of its ears, but also its lifespan. Why does your dog age? Not because it decided to, but because it is in morphic resonance with billions of its ancestors who aged and died. Aging for an animal is a deep, well-worn groove in the information space. It is the inertia of the collective past of the entire species. An animal does not need to have a personal belief in death. A puppy simply falls into this groove at birth and rolls along it automatically, like a train on rails. It has no self-awareness to stop this train. Now look at yourself. We humans are also connected to our morphic field. Spiritual teachers are right. Aging is a program. But it is not just a file in your personal brain. It is a program in the collective field of all humanity. But there is one critical difference. An animal cannot step out of resonance with its species. It has no tools for that. Humans have self-awareness and free will. We are the only creatures who can realize the groove exists and say, I am not playing this game anymore. What mystics call enlightenment is, in essence, exiting the influence of the automatic morphic resonance of the past. Here is the difference. An animal ages because it has no choice. It is its biological imperative. A human ages because they refuse to choose. They voluntarily descend to the level of an animal and accept someone else's program as their own. Chapter 7. The Chronos Protocol, a rejuvenation manual for every day. So, we know the truth. Our body is a biomachine that breaks down at 44 and 60. But our mind is the operator who can hit the brakes. You do not need a billion-dollar lab. You do not need to go to Tibet. Right now, I will give you the Chronos Protocol. It is a synthesis of advanced 2025 science and ancient practices. 2 levels: software hack, mind, and hardware support, body. Step 1. Stop cursing yourself. Seriously, every time you say, I am too old for this, or it is too late at my age, you are giving a direct command to your cells to die. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Eliminate these phrases completely. Leonard Orr suggested replacing them with physical immortality affirmations. Try saying this and feel the resistance inside. I am alive now, and my life urges are stronger than my death urge. Step 2. Shoshin practice. Beginner's mind. Sadhguru says, you must remain alive, which means do not make conclusions. Old age is when you stop learning. Once a year, start doing something you are a complete zero at. Tango? Chinese? Quantum physics? This forces the brain to build new neural connections, physically preventing it from ossifying. Step 3. Breath. We accumulate emotional trash for decades. Sandra Ray claims that these suppressed emotions block the flow of life. Use the connected breathing technique, 20 minutes a day, breathing without pauses between inhale and exhale. Or try the Taoist turtle breathing technique. Slow your breath down to 3 to 4 times a minute. This switches the nervous system from wear and tear mode to repair mode. But rewriting the program is not enough. The body needs resources. Remember the cliffs. If you are 44, your main task is the metabolic shield. Your liver can no longer cope. Therefore, alcohol is poison number 1. Eliminate it, and you win 10 years of life. If you are 60, your goal is the immune shield and muscles. Muscles are the organ of longevity. They release signaling molecules that heal the entire body. Pump iron so you do not become fragile. And now, the heavy artillery of molecules. What are biohackers taking in 2025? Not multivitamins. They take things that clean cells and polish DNA. 1. Spermidine, a substance that triggers autophagy, a process where the cell eats its own trash. It is your internal cleaning crew. 2. NMN and resveratrol, David Sinclair's favorites. They boost NAD+ levels, fuel needed by enzymes to repair scratched DNA. And the last secret, blood. 2025 research proved aging signals accumulate in our plasma. Billionaires do expensive plasmapheresis to clean their blood and rejuvenate by 2.5 years. But there is a life hack: regular plasma donation. When you donate plasma, you throw away some of the old proteins, and the body is forced to create new, clean ones. It is budget biohacking that saves other lives. Here is your plan. Morning, life affirmation and NMN. Day, learning something new and exercise. Evening, intermittent fasting, 16 hours without food, to trigger trash cleanup. And, most importantly, remember, you are not a victim of your genetics. You are its editor.
Chapter 8. Stop rehearsing death. Your new choice. Your body has no calendar of its own. Your cells possess no clock. The only clock that ticks is the one inside your head. Every fact we have uncovered today, from the placebo effect to quantum biology, screams one thing: matter is secondary. Your body is simply an obedient soldier. It follows the general's orders. And that general is your belief. If you believe that withering begins after 40, the body obediently crashes your metabolism. If you believe that old age is an inevitable disease, you trigger the death urge that Leonard Orr warned about. You unconsciously give your consent to decay. We are used to thinking that aging is an accumulation of errors. But perhaps the biggest error is our conviction that we must age. We rehearse our old age by watching our parents. We memorize this script by heart, repeating, "Well, at my age," and when the time comes, we play the role flawlessly, right up to the final curtain. But now, you have knowledge. And knowledge is the one thing you cannot unsee. You know that the cliffs at 44 and 60 are not a death sentence, but simply a software glitch that can be patched. You know that your mind is capable of changing the structure of reality, just as it restored the vision of the old men in the counterclockwise experiment. So right now, you have a choice. You can leave everything as it is, live by inertia, waiting for diseases like old friends, and slowly fading away because that is just how it is. Or you can throw away that script. Stop looking for evidence of your old age in the mirror. Stop looking for it in your passport. Your body is ready to live forever. Nature proved this with the naked mole rat and the jellyfish. The only thing stopping your body from doing the same is your absolute certainty that it is impossible. Wake up. Hack the code. Stop planning your end. Start planning your eternity. People don't stop dreaming because they grow old. They grow old because they stop dreaming. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is Omega Point. We explore reality so you can feel it.